Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. On 14th of September, Kenyans were awakened by the worrying hike on the price of energy, of fuel. And that hike caused a national uproar in this country. Questions that to date, we've never gotten the answers. So let me remind you, the very night EPRA hiked the price of fuel, Moses Kuria unapologetically or arrogantly told Kenyans to brace themselves for hard times in the near future, because for every between now and February next year, the price of petrol will be increasing by 10 shillings. And by that time, actually, when the discussion escalated, he even told Kenyans to go and dig their own wells where they can scoop fuel if they think what government is doing is wrong. David Ndii, on the other side, was also in Twitter telling Kenyans, laughing off assertions by Kenyans that the political leadership had failed to meet its obligations, or rather to meet its promise to Kenyans about lowering the cost of fuel. And ladies and gentlemen, David Ndii actually told us that we were wrong even to believe what the politicians said. And Kenyans asked, why is it that political leaders who are supposed to be sympathetic, or rather who are supposed to show empathy with Kenyans during on the wake of such news, are arrogantly telling Kenyans that things are not going to change? And so when Rigathi Gachagua, the following week, Rigathi Gachagua arrived in the country, and immediately arrived in the country from Colombia, he actually called out Moses Kuria for talking to Kenyans rudely about the cost of fuel. And in fact, there was a stage-managed fallout between Rigathi Gachagua and Moses Kuria. I remember mentioning in my podcast that Kenyans should not be hoodwinked to think that Moses Kuria is the problem, or David Ndii. The problem was that we had hike in the cost of fuel. But as things would go, by when that was happening, President of the Republic of Kenya, William Ruto, was actually in the United States attending the United Nations General Assembly. So to date, we've had what Rigathi Gachagua said. He actually went to Mount Kenya and told Mount Kenyans that they should not resist government because it is their government. So they should just endure the difficulties, the pains that now Kenya Kwanza is inflicting on Kenyans. But to date, a reminder is being set that, do you know, since William Ruto arrived in this country from US, he's never uttered any word in respect to the cost of fuel. Never. Today, I listened to the 56, nearly 1 hour minutes speech, 1 hour speech by President Ruto during the National Governing Council meeting, that inaugural meeting at UDA, at Bomas of Kenya. And I don't think it had anything to do with UDA. That meeting was technically organized so that they can remind the country how or what the government is doing so far. But the president failed to mention about the cost of energy and what exactly was going to happen. So Ruto's silence in the wake of the hike in the price of fuel is something that I want us to interrogate in this podcast. We've heard what Moses Kuria said, Trade CS, we've heard what David Day said, we've heard what Rigathi Gachagua said, and we've also heard what Chirchir said. But Ruto is someone who knows. There is a statement that says otamodogere kwacho, as in you cannot say imeshinda ile mtu ambaye anajua kuongea. You expect Ruto to be a man who knows how to counter narratives in public, but this one is being met by some unusual silence from President William Ruto. Kindly subscribe to our channel, click the notification bell, and like our videos. Thank you very much for those who are supporting our podcast. By the way, when you like our videos, it will increase the rating. Then it will be suggested to many people, and through that, you are actually promoting our podcasts as the bold. Now, why do you think Ruto is quiet? Why do you think Ruto is quiet? Ruto is quiet because the narrative that the increase in fuel, the hike in the price of fuel, has exclusively caused by the global hike is something that backfired in public. What government did was to pay their bloggers and the vocal politicians that have huge following in social media platforms to tell Kenyans, and by the way, it was never said in, not in public, they said it in the social media, to manage Kenyans by telling them that the cost of fuel is high, not because of President, or not of Kenya Kwanza fault, but it is because of the global hike. That's what they told Kenyans. But why is it that William Ruto cannot come and defend it? Someone might ask, Kevin, why would you want Ruto to talk or comment about this if the ministers have spoken about it? I can say this. There is a template, there is a way Kenya Kwanza operates, that President Ruto is the policy breaker. If there is something, a policy that is supposed to be floated, William Ruto is the person that will first float it in the rallies first, then before that, then after that, papers will follow. Now, because this is something that had public interest, you will actually want them to see going through it. Remember, we will look at it at the end of this podcast. What exactly is the real problem, why this has to be hidden? Number two, the fuel hike continues to shed Ruto's popularity. If there is something that makes President Ruto's popularity to go down in the Republic of Kenya, amongst all those unmet pledges, is the cost of energy, or rather is the cost of fuel. Why am I saying this? Now, this cost of fuel is actually increasing daily. It's not daily, every month. I mean, let's brace ourselves. I can tell you, I may not be shocked to see last month it can stagnate. October it can stagnate at that 200. Then ikifika October and November, there is another bombshell, another unexpected hike. So Kenyans know very well that most of these problems that people go through, those who are privileged and are driving cars, those in companies, there are people that have lost jobs simply because of such increase. And there are people that use kerosene. Hustlers are using kerosene. And so when the price is up, they are actually affected. But then the price of kerosene increased by nearly 30 shillings. So he knows very well he will not want to drag about it and want that conversation to die because it's shedding its popularity. Number three, I think Kenya Kwanza instead decided to employ diversionary tactics and not to face it. Diversionary tactics in the sense that what Moses Kuria was doing that angered Kenyans was actually by design. even the irritating tweets that David Ndii was sharing was actually designed. And I know well that by the time David Ndii was tweeting, David Ndii was with William Ruto in the US. That's what many people maybe did not know. He was actually in the US, accompanied President Ruto there. So it's very clear that they have decided to employ diversionary tactics. And why? If there is something that cannot be handled, and I think there is fear of unknown, you know, the office of the presidency, what William Ruto would expect if he speaks about it is to share hope and tell people that, you know what, things are bad, but maybe in the near future, things are going to look good. But there is uncertainty. They don't know what it will look like in the next 2 or 3 months. Because I have seen them even extending the Dubai oil deal at the expense of the whole fuel fluctuation costs. We have increased that oil deal to another 1 year until December 2024, while we have all seen that it has failed to achieve its designated goal, which was to help us manage our Kenyan shilling. Kenyan shilling against the dollar is now free fall. It's at free fall now. Is I think last week was at 150. It clicked 150 by day for the first time in the history of Kenya. Kenyan shilling was retailing against dollar at 150. So things are tough, while Africans, Mr. Nice continues to dance in our graves. The silence is loud.